We expect everybody.
Yeah, but is that an extra one that you have?
No.
We expect everybody to become multimillionaires after they read this.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, so much
no,
money.
but it's,
So
it-
awesome for
it's-
my grandchildren.
well, that's great. And if you need to add any family members.
Yeah.
Me too.
We'll have we'll have the sign up soon. All right, so if we could all stand, we'll do the self-confidence formula.
You need it?
No, I'm good. Do you wanna leave it out?
If you want me to, I knew you were gonna ask me to do that this morning. First thing I thought of when I woke up.
So you already knew.
I did.
You ready?
Yep.
No, that's-
All right, start us off.
Okay, self-confidence formula, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. First, I know that I have the ability to achieve
the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself a persistent, continuous action towards the attainment, and I here and now promise to render such action. Second, I realize that dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward visible action
and gradually transform themselves into physical reality.
Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily
upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. Third, I know through the principle of autosuggestion, any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the object back of it. Therefore, I will devote 10 minutes daily to demand to myself the development of self-confidence. Fourth, I have clearly written down the description of my achieving in life, and I will never stop trying until I shall have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. Fifth, I fully realize that no wealth or possession can long endure, but build upon truth and justice. Therefore, I believe in no transaction which does not benefit all who benefit. I will succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use and the cooperation of other people. I will induce others to serve me because of my willingness to serve others. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity. Because I know that a negative attitude towards others can never bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me because I will believe in them. I will sign the names of this formula, commit it to memory, and repeat it out one day with full faith that will gradually influence my thoughts and actions so that I will become a more self-reliant and successful person. Hoorah.
Good job, everybody. And then we
Good
have-
morning.
Good morning. Well done.
High five. Oh, let's do a roll.
Now we're gonna write our 10 gratitudes, our 10 goals. If you have your notepads, your journals, put a little meditation music on, and gratitude, 10 goals, and then we'll get started.
Brandon, you might want to catch mouth or forward here.
Okay, are more people coming?
Yeah, just have one thing.
Yeah, I see one.
Yeah, I'm sure she's out. Yeah.
She's from my office.
Yeah, so.
So we write 10 goals.
Yeah, 10 goals, 10 gratitudes. So it could be short-term goals, yearly goals, what you want to do for production, personal goals. You just want to keep it funny. Welcome, man. Meditation. Given instructions, let me change this one. Yep, 10 gratitudes and goals. All right, how's everybody doing? Everybody doing? All right, good morning, everyone. Does anybody have a gratitude that they'd like to share before we get started? I know, because you're always grateful.
I am grateful.
Mhm.
I'm grateful to be able to be myself. That's like my biggest gratitude right now.
Okay.
Just to be myself.
That's great.
It's a good thing.
That is a good thing. Anything else anybody would like to share? Not nice.
Back.
It's the deodorant I wore today. Just the
Grateful
great-
not to be in a mental institution. at this point. Yeah.
Get one for me too.
Anything else anybody'd like to share? Yes.
I'm grateful for life lessons that challenge me every day that I can learn from.
Awesome. Yeah, really good. Thank you. Anybody else like to share gratitude? Yes.
I'm grateful to be here today,
Yes.
meaning alive, and to be here with everybody that is smiling and you have synergy. That's what
Absolutely.
you have. That's what I came here for.
That's great. We'll welcome you. Anytime you want to come here, Vicky, we'd love to have you here.
Thank you.
Yes. Anything else anybody like to share?
I kind of feel the same as Vicky, and I'm
Uh-huh.
excited to be in here for the first time today
Yeah,
in our, with our new training room. This is very exciting,
it is.
being in our new additional space.
Yeah. That feels good. Feels like a full house in here, and just appreciate you all making the effort to come here. So we'll get a good message out of today. There's definitely some nuggets here. We're kind of breaking it up a little bit differently, so we'll kind of go with it to see how things are going. But part of this is going to be Think and Grow Rich, planned for about 30 minutes, which is pretty tight. But this chapter, if we kind of hit the nuggets quick, I think 30 minutes is enough time. It is a really important chapter. So if you get a chance, if you haven't read it, definitely read this one. This is where things start coming together and you really start understanding the power of your imagination. That's what the chapter is, and how people come up with the ideas to become successful, and then how they come up with plans and how they start taking action and knowing the steps. So this is a lot of it. This starts summing up a lot of the chapters and starts setting up into the next chapters coming up. So really good chapter. After we do the Think and Grow Rich, then we'll do some role play. I have objection handlers. So if you don't have your script book, we do have a few extra ones that we can share too. Objection handlers are always the most fun to practice because these are the things that stump us typically. When people bring up their excuses of why they don't want to take action. So this is the thing that if you practice objection handling, every time we've done role play, we used to do objection handlers on Friday and see me. That was the day everybody wanted. And then they had caravan on see me. So they're like, oh, do it Thursday. We moved back and forth. Half the people dropped off. But objection handlers was the thing that everybody wanted to practice. So should be fun with that. We'll do a few of those. And then afterwards, we talked about forming a mastermind group in the Camarillo office. Anybody's welcome to be a part of it, but we're going to talk about different ideas and things that are working right now, specifically in prospecting and finding business, what's working on social media. If you have ideas in terms of community outreach, if you want to be a part of, I know there's an event at the Moore Park Country Club, that we're going to have our presence at. So just different things that we really want to leverage the power of what's in this room and work with each other, stay in tune with what's happening right now, so we stay steps ahead of the competition and really just leverage the power that's in here, because we've got a very powerful group of people in here. So you're all always welcome to come in. Actually, if it gets to I like this size group here personally. If it gets bigger, then we'll figure it out and be in here today. And let's just make it a good session for everyone, so we kick butt and take names right now, because there's a lot of business opportunity out there right now. So anything else anybody would like to share before we get jumped into this? You're all getting jumped in. We have certain things that we do here, and you may not want to come back after this. I'm just warning you. All right, so let's start off with the first question here. I'm just going to read them off. If there's anything anybody had written specifically for it, just let me know. First one's, what's the most helpful idea from chapter 6 for you? Okay. Second one is, there are 2 forms of imagination. There's a little clue here. And if you want to explain what those 2 are. The third one is, which form of imagination will you use to create your goal? Fourth, what is the beginning part of all fortunes? And I actually wrote a pretty decent amount on that one, so I'll do that one. And then the fifth, Napoleon Hill writes, success requires no explanations, failure permits no alibis. How can that statement inspire you in life? That's the fifth one. Does anybody want to volunteer on any of those? Anybody at once? You want to volunteer back there, bud? Yeah. You look ready.
Get in the car.
Good.
I'll do 5.
Maybe 5? That's a good one. And then we got 5. The others, I can do 2 as well, just to break that one down. All right. Anybody else? Any other takers here? That's okay. All right, well, let's jump into it then. So to start with, in terms of the most helpful idea from this chapter, so the big thing with this imagination is, that is referred to, and they're saying it is no secret. And the secret is everything is either energy or matter, right? And they really break it down to understand that everything in life consists of that. And anything you physically see now that is matter started as energy. Okay. So your thoughts, your idea, understand that everything that's ability to take something that's a thought and actually create it and make it real. And that's what this chapter gets into, to really help you understand the power of what we already have within us. And a lot of it when I think back in history, it's just everything that I've wanted so bad, so passionately, so obsessively, whatever you want to call it, I was able to attain those things. And you have to think of, think of it growing up, but really think of it now in your business. And think of how absolute it is with whatever it is that you have to accomplish, whether it's representing a buyer and finding them the perfect home, whether it's going on a listing appointment and taking that listing, whether it's you're going to do a certain amount of business that you've never done before. If you're just starting out, you're going to create a certain amount. You have to understand that power of first knowing what it is that you want before that you actually accomplish it. And this chapter breaks down the two different forms of imagination, and they get into synthetic and creative imagination. Does anybody know the difference or recall the difference? I know, a few of us, we've gone through this now for the second time, at least up until this chapter. Do you remember the difference between the two? Does anybody remember the two forms of imagination? Yes, Leslie?
There's synthetic and creative.
Okay.
So synthetic are old concepts or ideas or plans
Uh-huh.
that basically create nothing, is what they say. That
Right.
doesn't create anything. Creative are hunches and inspirations with strong, and when you combine that with strong desire, it creates vibrations that will
Right.
help you attain what it is that you want.
Absolutely. So creative. So a lot of time when people talk about geniuses, they're referring to the creative imagination. Genius, we all have genius within us. There isn't somebody that's just born. There's these special people that have these special skills. All those people have done is figured out how to tap within to tap into that genius, and it's another source. So it's another source of information. And when they refer to the vibration, they're talking about vibration of thought. Okay. Now everything operates on a certain level of vibration. And so even as you go throughout the day, that's why there's such a big focus on negative energy versus positive energy, right? And we're all victim to it. We're all guilty of it. We all can be controlled and influenced very strong by that negative. But the vibration of thought, there's ways that you can increase your vibration. And the higher that it vibrates, you actually elevate to another level and access information. That's really what it gets down to. So that's what people are tapping into. Sometimes it's music that does it for people. They hear a certain song, puts them in a state of mind. Tony Robbins will talk about peak state. How do I get to peak state, right? Not a fear state, but peak state. Fear state is when we're fearful and we're concerned and we're very reserved. And a lot of times through life as we grow up, we lose that fearlessness. Like you think of your little ones and how they're just fearless and they'll go do anything. Well, then they get hurt. And they're maybe just a little bit more timid. Some are still fearless. Adults, we start living life very safe. We don't want to be burned. We've been hurt. So we start reeling it in. And we don't tap into what's inside us, which is what we've always had in us. And that's what this is about, is understanding, okay, how do I get to that again? How do I get to that peak state, that state that's unstoppable, that can conquer and do anything and operate in that type of belief, okay? That's the inner genius. We all can, and they talk about it like it's a muscle, just like working out. If you don't use that creative imagination, you're not strong. Use it, you lose it. I'm talking about the brain here, and we're talking about, stretching and working out. Okay, that's it. That's all we're talking about. So you want to make sure that when people meditate, if you've ever meditated, and they do a whole session on it. If you have the opportunity to unleash the power within in person, I know they do it a lot by Zoom. You got to do it. You're probably going to get sick. Everybody gets sick after they spend 4 days there because it's exhausting. I mean, you're there all day and there's a lot of people around. This is all pre-COVID, right? When everybody do it, and everybody always said at the end of it, they got sick, right? But you're going to experience some things and you're going to focus on yourself and put out all distractions of life and just think about, what is it that I want in this life? And that's what, if it's coming to you, this all comes back to knowing what you want and what you believe your purpose is. The definiteness of purpose. When they refer to that, they don't just say definite purpose, they say definiteness. You need to know exactly what you want, when you want it by, and be very clear and specific about that. So if it comes to you, you should always be searching for it. And I can be crystal clear and transparent that as much as I think that I have that figured out at times, right now I can say I question a lot of things. Certain life events will happen. Certain things will happen. You'll lose loved ones, and you start questioning things, and you start looking, okay, is this what I was put on this earth to do? Is this what being in this room right now, speaking to all of you about these concepts and these principles, is this where I'm supposed to be? And I do believe that. And I believe that this is where I'm supposed to be. So I have to remember that, because other things will happen and you start questioning it. You start doubting it, and you start doubting your own purpose, and you have to get back on track. And they talk about that at the end of this book, or at the end of this chapter. I'm just going to read it because this is a very important concept to understand. So he talks about the idea when the first idea came for Napoleon Hill to write this book and to develop this philosophy. He says, when the idea was first planted in my mind by Mr. Carnegie, it was coaxed, nursed, and enticed to remain alive. Think of when a baby's born, right? Think of what you have to do to that baby, how dependent that baby is on you. And if you don't right away, there's some that come out that aren't breathing, right? And we have to nurse it, and we have to bring it to life, and we have to do those things. That's the same thing with an idea. And if you don't give it life, how do you give it life? You take action, you write it down, you make it real, you make it concrete. That's the very first step. After the idea comes to you, that's why we have these journals. That's why I said, yeah, get your journal. In the way that I say it, it'd be a good idea to do it, right? Without saying, get your ass over there, get that journal, Jen. Right now. So gradually, so this is back to the idea that Carnegie planted. Gradually, the idea became a giant under its own power, and it coaxed, nursed, and drove me. So first, the person comes up with the idea, then the idea drives you. The idea becomes more powerful, more strong than the person who created the initial idea. Okay. Ideas are like that. First, you give life and action and guidance to ideas. Then they take on power of their own and sweep aside all opposition. So ideas are intangible forces, but they have more power than the physical brains that give birth to them. They have the power to live on. After the brain that creates them has returned to dust. So after the person dies, that idea can still live. For example, take the power of Christianity. That began with a simple idea, born in the brain of Christ. Its chief tenet was do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Christ has gone back to the source from whence he came, but his idea goes marching on. Someday it may grow and come into its own. Then it will fulfill Christ's deepest desire. The idea has been developing for only 2,000 years. Give it time. So it's also understanding and breaks it down into this book of understanding that when you have these ideas, you're going to face a ridiculous amount of opposition. And people are going to tell you you're wasting your time. And people are going to tell you, what are you doing? Why are you in this class chanting the self-confidence formula? Why do you think that you're going to be a great real estate agent? You're not going to do it. You don't have it in you. You don't have that ability inside you. You know, you always give up. You always quit. You can't stay committed. You're going to hear that all around you. It is key that you understand and you know that your idea and your belief in that idea is the most important thing. And it has to overcome all of that. And the persistence and the patience of letting it see it come through is critical. So you have to think of successful people and how they've gotten there. And they're able to overcome all the naysayers, all the doubters, all the people that are trying to make them fall. The more you speak about what you want, the more people are out there going to try to trip you. They're going to attack you. So certain things you do keep close to yourself because you don't need to add extras. Others, if you're strong enough, you can just overpower all of it. But when you start doubting your original idea, that's when you really have to take a deep look. And is it because of what other people are saying? Or is this truly what I believe that I'm questioning? And there's a good reason for me to question it, right? These are the things that we want to think about. So I know I'm going quite a bit into preach mode. Is there anything anybody else would like to share in terms of what we're talking about here? I just want to make sure that we're hitting on the nuggets of this chapter because it's a powerful one.
I want to share this really, really quickly.
Yes, please.
And it kind of just came into fruition. When you're using your creative imagination, it's a vibration.
Right.
And sometimes we feel as humans, and I think we've all felt it, it's almost like a discomfort, unease. We'll wake up in the middle of the night and we don't know, like, it's just like you want to jump out of your skin. I don't know if I'm crazy, if I'm alone, it's felt like that.
No.
But as I work with a lot of energy and creative energy, this is part of my superpower.
Right.
When you find yourself in that state, I would go into a point of meditation because there's somewhere a vibrational blockage for you. And you talked about there being a person maybe that's saying something.
Mhm.
I think when you feel the most unease is the best time to fall into that meditation, and your creative and your synthetic imagination will kind of help you overcome that energy block.
Mhm.
And I say that because I this is like the core. If I don't stay to the core of this right here, I
Right.
so when you're in that state, just try to find that block, your peak state, your vibrational, your other self, as
Right.
I'm called.
What types of things are blocks that you've seen in the past?
I can only use myself, for instance, could be family members,
Right.
could be relationships,
Mhm.
also could be financial blockage. People kind of find themselves in a financial situation and it blocks out everything else.
Right.
Especially in real estate, if the deals aren't there, there's that blockage. Oh my gosh, what if I can't do this? And what if I can't do that?
Right.
You then hinder yourself into, remember, the energy mode knows no difference.
Mhm.
All they know is I'm not gonna be able to pay that bill.
Right.
Well, you're going into the listing presentation.
Right.
It doesn't know, oh my God, I don't want to hit that car.
Right.
Boom.
You hit it.
Yes, so it's the same thing in this. You have to kind of be in a state, and it's like, I feel like I'm lying to myself when I'm in this state. I'm like, oh man, but this is the reality. No, my reality is my creative essence.
Right.
I'm reality. So I have to stay true to know that, I'm not a multimillionaire, but what I have decided, and that's why it's so important in this book to write down specifically what you want, because it's not for anybody else. It's for yourself to go back and say, oh yeah, this is exactly what I want and
Mhm.
who I am becoming.
Right.
So that's what I got. Sorry.
No, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. That's what I needed. So thank you, Amelia. Anything else anybody'd like to share? See you smiling back there, Candace.
I'm
You
just,
smiling.
I
Just
like
enjoying
when she shared, yeah. it's just for the sun, so yes.
That's big. Does everybody still, I mean, and if you don't, please, synthetic versus creative, do you understand really the difference between the two? If you don't, it's okay. I need to break it down a little more. If not, do we still kind of not sure? Okay, so synthetic, so they actually say a lot of inventors use synthetic. Synthetics based off your past experiences. It's information that's already known out there. So when they say that the Wright brothers invented the airplane, right? There were actually gliders that were already previously made. It was already invented for a glider. Everybody knows what a glider is, right? So you can't control a glider. A glider can create lift and can fly, right? And you can hold on to it, but they couldn't control it. Just in the sense of like being able to turn the wings and be able to make it turn and do, you could, guide it in that direction, but not take off. So that was already in place. The Wright brothers worked on bicycles, right? That's actually what their business was. Were already created. They were able to, they probably tapped into some creative, but that's called synthetic. Synthesize it and then make it work in a better way. Right? And it can be more efficient. It can be more so synthetic this is primarily when you go off past experiences, you go off of research that you're able to find, whatever you pull, you can watch YouTube, learn something. All of that is through synthetic. Creative is taken where it requires really meditation or understanding that you're so obsessed with one particular goal. And then when the ideas come to you, that's the creative. Okay, the creative imagination is when you're tapping into really that sixth sense. You're able to actually pick up thoughts and ideas from other people. That's why it gets crazy, right? And you start realizing that somebody else will be thinking something, and that thought, you didn't realize you released that thought, whether it's positive or negative. That's why they say it's so important to protect your mind and to make sure that you guard your thoughts. Because if you don't, and you allow those negative thoughts to come in from somebody else who's having a bad day, right? Or just going through something, it can affect you. So we have to really be protective of what comes in, because what comes in is what's going to come out, right? And understand that's also who you surround yourself with. That's who you partner up with. It's who you team with. It's who's in this room, who's in this room here, right? We got a great group in here. So, but that's also what creates when we can put it in that positive state. Does that make a little bit more sense on the synthetic to creative? Yes. Like I said.
I think I've already shared this, but we never show me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. And it's even like that in a work environment. And I'm learning that with this group too. It's like, if I'm down, she picks me up, vice versa. I lean on Leslie. It's like, it's just a positive environment. Everybody's going through their things outside of this, but we all show up with a smile on our face and a leader like you. And it's just really cool. Like, I'm so thankful.
Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. So appreciate it. Anything else? Yes, not
I
bad.
think also the way I look at it is almost like synthetic it's through the outside forces. Creative is just within. So it's, you know, the energy that with synthetic is everything that's coming from the outside. And creative is anything that you're creating on the inside.
Right.
So that's sort of how I saw it.
Yeah. And it does get into a little bit more just in terms of how to develop that creative, because we do. We want to take some time, and there's different things people do. They'll wake up just a little bit earlier in the morning before all the distractions are out there, right? They'll one of the things that I liked, and I've tried to do this since like 2013, 2014. If you could ever get to the office an hour earlier and just think, like, just create ideas. Don't check your email, don't look at your texts, don't do anything. This is actually something I know Ken does when he gets in, and this is what I respected about him and saw from day one is first thing he gets in, he gets his yellow pad and starts thinking about who needs his help. And you should think about, okay, who out there, let me list 5 people right now that may want to think about moving. That's a past client, that's a friend that went through a life event. You see somebody on social media with a life event, you need to put notes, write notes. You're always coming up with your list for prospecting. And this will get into the mastermind thing, but it's coming right now. So as things happen, as you have interactions, you got to take notes. Keep running notes of your prospects, of your leads, of your people on your phone. Create it in your notes section. And then when you get in first thing in the morning, start thinking about, okay, what do I want to accomplish this week? What's my main goal? This is another good exercise to do if you're writing in your journal. On the very top, you write. So first, you hear a writer's block where people, they're so worried about trying to write perfectly, they can't write. Just write, right? Write everything out there. Okay, all the goals that I want to accomplish, just write any and everything, write everything down. Then go back through and circle the one thing that if I accomplish this goal in the short term or long term, it's going to change my life or it's going to change my business. And when you do that, circle that goal and put that goal on the top of the next page. Okay. And then do the same thing. So now you're focused on this goal. The goal is I'm going to put 3 in escrow this month. Okay. That's my goal. How am I going to do that? And I'm just going to write whatever comes to me. I'm writing and just putting those ideas down. Okay. And just don't block anything. Don't allow anything. Just anything that comes to your mind, you write it out and you just spit it all out. Then once you spit it all out, now you start prioritizing the most important things we call money-making activities that are going to lead to that. Okay. So you're going to put, okay, if I do these things, these are going to lead to money-making activities, which is anything that's going to lead to a listing or a buyer, right? Contract or transaction. Those are your top ones that you're going to knock out. Sometimes you'll have a major issue that you got to handle. They call it eat the toad, right? And you just want to knock it out because it's going to be lingering in the back of your head until you do the things that really are the money-making activities, right? But there are certain things this morning, even though I'm reading this, I'm in a great state and I'm getting texts that are coming in and I'm trying to block it. I know they're going to be stressed if I don't respond to them 2 hours from now. So I just knocked it out as quick as I could and I put it away. Now I get back focused in the zone right now, which is what we're doing right here. Okay. So write them all out, prioritize, try to take those first 3. And then what you'll do is you're gonna put your top priority. The better you get at this, you're gonna see how you knock it out. And once you start hitting those top things, then whatever you have left for the next day, that's the next thing that you're starting with on the next day. So you want to keep these running tracks of list, and you're going to see the power of this, and you're going to see this is how you start creating plans and actually start taking action. Okay. So when I do this, it works very well. And it's just remembering to do it because we forget it until I'm doing it right now. It's like, okay, now I need to redo this again for this week. What do I want to accomplish this week? And it's always good if you can even do it. Sundays are tough. That's why if you can get up just a little earlier on a Monday, it's going to help out. And then once you lay it all out, then do your calendar, lay your calendar out, and then you're going to see how much more power you have in every day that you're working. Because you're going to come in, know exactly what I need to do, knock it out, go. Enjoy life. Go enjoy your family. Go work out. Go do the things that you want to do. But be very efficient and very effective. That's how you can do everything. The biggest question I get all the time is how do you do it all? How do you have a family, coach both your kids, work, sell real estate, run a team, run this? I do a lot, but there's people doing more than I'm doing. You have to be highly effective and efficient with your time. That's it. You have to be very good about prioritizing your time. You got to show up when it's time to show up. You got to know when to come correct and be all in. And that's the key. If you do that with everything that you do, the quality is there. It's not about the quantity, but it's about prioritizing your life and knowing first clearly what it is that you want to accomplish. Okay. So I hope that helps. That's what's speaking to me right now. And I wanted to make sure I shared this. So anything else anybody else has questions about, would like to build off that? Anytime somebody scratches their head or does something, I'm going to call on them. So, well, anything you want to add?
No, it really has.
I know. Oh, but you always have great things to share. Anything from this chapter in particular? Because I know you at least listened to it.
I did listen to it. I don't know, I think it's a really intriguing chapter because it's one of the more, I would say, like outlier concepts.
Right.
Something that was definitely new to me the first time. I think this might have been the first chapter I started on with you guys the last time we did it.
Okay.
So it was neat to listen to it again. And I just think the concept of having that meditation and kind of tapping into other people's ideas is really interesting.
Right.
Whether you realize it or not, but I think that's why I like the idea of a mastermind group, because we all are trying different things at this point, and not all ideas work for everybody.
Right.
In terms of prospecting and gaining new business. So obviously this is specifically for real estate I'm talking about, but
Right.
yeah, just like the whole concept of being able to tap into other people's energies and thoughts is something that's always fascinated me. And I've never been in a real estate community that worked this way,
Right.
that was open-minded enough and had other agents who, thought that way too. So
Yeah. No, that's great. Well,
we're
we're
just talking about gratitude. I'm grateful I'm here.
well, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And you're already summing up what we're going to tap into in the last 30 minutes of today. So I just wanted to try my best to do this, and we're already getting close to that time for Think and Grow Rich. But yes, we're going to jump into that. Yes, Shaq.
What stood out for me was when you were talking about how you kind of need to listen to your inner voice and don't listen to the external people talking to you about if your idea is going to work. And for example, when I thought about doing real estate, I had most of my family telling me, hey, you should just stick to it. No, if I am, like I told you, she was telling me, hey, if you're a referral agent, all these new agents usually don't. Really glad I did.
Yeah, well, we are too. I'm glad you're here with us. Yeah, it's crazy just in terms of when there's just something inside you telling you to do it. When I first got used to some of this, like you worked so hard, your whole year major, I sent you to state starting. I those dean's lists. And they just expected something of an engineer, doctor, something of that caliber. I'm like, why are you settling for real estate? And I joined a fraternity that had a little bit to do with it, right? And realized that I didn't want to be in an office, which I'm in an office all the time, but at that time, thinking like, I'm not gonna be stuck in a lab, just doing experiments. And, you know, even though I love science and math, those were my two strengths. Realized through the fraternity, I was a social chair, I threw parties, no big surprise there, right? But that was my job, was to throw parties and interact with other people. But it was more of that. It was more of understanding that I loved people. I loved being with people. I loved going into a room and helping people. And so I was trying to figure out, okay, how can I do something with it? So when I first got into it, you know, my dad was just like, I don't know if you're cut out for this. You know, he saw me pretty stressed out on a situation right out the gate. My face got all red. Get red, my neck gets red, my whole face is red. He could tell I was stressed out on whatever the situation was. And he kept saying, you know, this isn't for you. And in my head, it's like, yeah, it is. I'm gonna show you. And it was. And I stuck to it. So he obviously gave me a lot of great advice and coaching and guidance and love and recognition and acknowledgement through the way. But you don't just listen. And these are the people that love you the most, who want to see you do well. If anything, he was trying to protect me, my mom, our family from the negative, nasty side of real estate, because he knew how cutthroat it was, right? That's what he was trying to protect us from. The endless stress in the nights that you can just go with this business. Either it's really good or it's really not good. Going through that and living life through that, where it's like maybe just focusing on a specific trade that is always in need and demand, like a plumber or electrician or anything. Maybe that was the route that he should have taught all of us. That's what these conversations would come up. And in reality, this is a specific trade. This is something that you can master. This is something that you can elevate yourself. And there's always a demand for real estate. People are always buying and selling real estate. So it's all in terms of how you look at it, what you focus on. But the key is for you to know deep down inside, there's something in you telling you that this is the route. And so you just need to embrace that, keep going hard, keep going all in, keep showing up, keep asking questions, keep being you, and it'll come to you. And be open to it. And you got to be ready to receive it. These are all the different qualities that are critical. So thank you for sharing that, Jack. Thank you. Anything else anybody would like to share? I know you have your questions, so do you want to do that?
Can you read it? Because
Yeah, I'll reread it.
there's a lot of information going on.
Yeah, well, just speak to what is speaking to your heart right now.
So I think when we talk about failures, I'm on a personal journey with this book right now. So I actually made a decision a couple of weeks ago to never say I failed, ever.
Okay.
And I've had some doozies. Where we find failure is where we find fault in ourselves. And if we keep on looking at the faults in ourselves, we'll never succeed. And for right now, when I think of that F word, I think of what it's taught me, what it teaches each and every one of us, and how it's protected us. Though that F word protects us from not entering in to a door that we shouldn't be in. Because life, I believe that life is written for us. We just have to walk through it. So when we see that F word, we have to move forward, because the two F words will keep you trapped in lost space, fear and failure. And I can only speak for myself, where fear and failure keeps you in a dimension that doesn't allow you to become your better self.
Right.
So instead of failure, it didn't happen for me the way I thought it was going to. But what if it's just that twist of the knob, the other direction, that allows you to go through the door?
Right.
So I hope sometimes I don't make sense, but the sense is stop looking at what could have and start looking at what is and what is possible.
Right.
And I think that that's what Napoleon Hill was trying to say in that. That's what I got out of it.
That's good. It's really good. Yeah, he wrote, so success requires no explanation. Failure permits no alibis. And actually, I keep wondering if he said it the way he wanted to say it. And he's always careful with his words. So I'm curious if I missed the meeting, because when I first read it, what I think about is, think of the amount of times that we focus time and energy coming up with excuses. So when I hear alibis, right? I think of, well, I can't do this because these reasons, or I didn't do this. I didn't keep my commitment because these things all came up. Think of how much time we spend making excuses for not doing what we should be doing, or taking the action that we should be taking. And it takes some serious effort to come up with a good excuse, an alibi, right? Like, think of that's your creative imagination. That can be your creative imagination. All this time that you spent trying to figure out to explain why you didn't do something, right? I think of filling this office. How much time have I spent? Well, it's because of this, it's because this, and we're a newer company and these things. These are all excuses that I'm making for myself. In reality, I know what I should be doing. What if I spent that same amount of time and energy, instead of making excuses, focused on, this is the goal. How do I come up with a way to attain that goal? Right? Like, think about it. Think of how much time we spend towards our alibis and our excuses of why we don't do something, why we didn't attain a goal, versus spending that same amount of time and energy in a positive space of, this is what I want to accomplish. I'm going to figure out how to do it. And there is a way. If there's a will, there's a way. And I'm going to figure it out. Does that make sense? Because I think, for me, that's the biggest thing I get. Go ahead.
I think
Candace.
sometimes too, that's like avoidance, of facing something or knowing that you should be giving something your all, and maybe you might fail at it, maybe you won't fill this whole office, whatever that looks like, right?
Right.
So then you avoid it, you make excuses, you put it back, you push it back, you push it back, but it's still, for most of us, probably sitting on your shoulders, and it's in the back of your mind, you get it done and you just face whatever it is, even if you do fail at it, but
Right.
it's easier for us to make those excuses, that's what.
Absolutely. Very, very much so. And you just think of the amount of time and the energy we spend on that versus just getting it done. That's the reality, is there's a way for everything. Any idea, anything that needs to be accomplished. And that's actually one of the things why I wanted to be in this room. I was like, and I read a message somewhere, and it was probably through here, or one of the things that I see. But it's the idea, if you build it, they will come. Actually, it's in here, and it talks about in the woods. Let me see if I can find the actual quote. It's good. So it's Ralph Emerson, your neighbor. Though he build his house in the woods, the world will make a beaten path to his door. You're good at what you do, and you're helping people out. People will find a way to you, right? We focus on that, is like what Laura just shared, is not existing in any other real estate office here in the county, in the state, in the country, in the world, right? How do we do that? What do we need to do that? And I personally believe it's doing something like what we're doing here, and starting it off with this, and that's why really good things over the last 6-7 years have changed. And wouldn't it be a disservice with that? There is no other thing other than being blessed enough to learn what works for me, and hopefully sharing that with all of you to help create these different habits and rituals and ways of thinking that's going to help you accomplish everything that you want to do. Okay. Is that cool? Good. All right. You guys ready to jump into role play now?
Yes.
Everybody's excited to role play? Let's do it. Well, I'll make it a little easier just at the beginning with phone calls stepping out. You guys, if I give everybody a breather right now, I get a feeling that one person's gonna be left in this room. But you guys need to hit the restroom up, do anything real quick before we jump into this? Not that quick.
An objection, but
Yeah.
it's like the.
That's the objection. All right, you're not gonna want to miss this. So you need to do what you gotta do. Go ahead and do that. And then we're gonna get started here for everybody that is here.
Is it the speaker now?
She
Two weeks ago, I'm sorry.
That's all I had to do. So we're gonna role play and give everybody an opportunity to walk out. So we'll see. See who actually comes in. So if you have your script book, there's an objection handling. If you look at the very beginning, it'll show you like a glossary.
Page 34,
Page 34.
in my book it is.
Still got Steve on here. You still hanging in there, Steve?
Oh, hi, Steve.
That's what it said. Hi.
Hey, everyone. Thanks, Brandon, but I'm gonna head out now. Medicine's kicking my butt.
Handler Steve. So
Hi,
Steve.
Hi.
Yeah, so they have that are listed in here real quick. What's that, bud?
Oh, the medicine's kicking my butt, so I'm gonna go to sleep right now.
Okay, sounds good, man.
Thanks.
All right, we'll see you later.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we'll do a little bit of training before we jump into this. We're probably gonna run a little later, so if you guys have to leave, just go ahead, nobody's gonna be offended here. We'll keep recording it. This is the first time we're trying to fit these 3 segments in here, and hopefully that was a good warm up there, for the mind, get us in the right state. We probably should do the mastermind right after, but I want to make sure we get some practice on this, because these are key things to work on. So first, before we jump into it, especially Shaq, I want to make sure you understand. Do you know what an objection is? Have you heard of an objection?
When somebody doesn't accept your offer.
That's a rejection.
Rejection.
Yeah, that's a rejection.
To go against what you say.
That's another good guess. So there's 2 main things to know the difference between, okay? It's a condition and an objection, okay? So this is what you want to try to identify when people are giving you their alibis or excuses why they don't want to take action. Objection versus condition. Okay. I'll put the way that it's defined here. Well, actually, before that, who else has an explanation of what an objection is? Okay. What's an
Unanswered
objection?
question.
Unanswered question. Okay. This is a good way to visualize it. They have an unanswered question. What does that mean in more depth? So what does that mean? What's an unanswered question?
Well, it could be just like a question that they have in their mind, or it could be a concern that it's a worry that we haven't addressed. So they kind of take off from that worry and make other decisions based on it, versus if it's answered, then it could be a simple getting over that hurdle.
Okay. So she referred to it as a hurdle. So Candace, what we're talking about right now is the difference between an objection versus a condition. Okay. And an objection, as Nagme stated, is an unanswered question. And what that means is they have a question. They may not even know what the question is, but they have a question that they're unsure of, and they don't know the answer to it. And because of that, they're not moving forward. An objection is somebody is an excuse that they'll give you, or they'll say something or a reason for them not working with you. Okay. So an objection is really like an excuse. It's, well, I would work with you, Candace, but I have a family member that is in the business, or I have a friend that I've already promised that just started the business, but I've already promised Shaq that I would list my next home with him. And you're door knocking and you meet somebody who says that, right? That's an objection. So they put an objection is an unanswered question in the mind of the customer. Answer their question. If you answer their question, now they have no hesitation and they move forward. So that's what our goal, that's what objection handling is. A condition is a statement of fact that you can do nothing about. You have to move on. So what could be a condition? What's an example of a condition? What can you think of for a condition?
So my son is a junior in high school and we're waiting for him to finish high school.
So junior in high school, right? Has to finish. Okay, what's another condition?
Oh, I have one.
Yep.
You can help me with this one too.
Uh-huh.
I need him to ask me to marry me before we'll list the house.
I can't help you with that one there. So,
I'm like about to take him to the jewelry store.
Let me find a little.
Here's mine.
My answer.
Is that a condition though? I feel like that could be an
The
objection.
objection, but that's a pretty damn big condition.
Tomorrow and.
You may be able to get past it, but that's a hard one, especially.
I mean, I would walk in with a different guy and say, hey, what's up?
Writing those things, and it's her house.
I think a good one would be telling him the reasons why you might want to move in with her.
Oh, no, 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 no.
before you get-
So they're living together. It's her house. And she wants, before they buy their house together, she wants him to propose. And she wants to get married while they're in escrow.
Oh, very specific.
Very specific, but this house has a ton of equity in it, which is gonna dwindle.
Yeah.
It will, if
Right,
anything changes, she's not gonna have what she thinks she has.
right,
And she hates the house because she wants a different house.
right.
So she's like, but he has to ask me to marry him.
Well, I'm
She's
gonna
smart.
refer a relationship therapist.
What do you say? Because this is stunning. I mean, what do you say to that?
You don't need to talk to her, you gotta talk to him. He's the one who gotta figure out what the heck's going on. I'm serious, you gotta figure it out, you gotta figure out, bro, what's the hesitation? What are you waiting for? Look at all the equity she's got, come on, man. Probably some other takers in here. Young man in the back of the corner. That's the first question you ask in my class. How much equity do you have in your house? Okay, that's. That means you're a sweet boy and don't ever change.
Yes.
So, what's that? Yeah, that's cool. So what do you think, bud? What are your thoughts? Can you help Amelia out with her situation?
My dilemma.
How do you sell a house?
So that she won't sell her house until he says, will you marry me? So what should she tell
Ask him to go on a date.
him? That's a great idea.
I agree.
I think that'd be good, right? And then is there anything else they should do too? Yeah, I think that's all they need to do. That's a great answer. Thank you. See, I knew it was good. It was good that you came here today.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. It's always a good thing. And it's good to be friends. It's good to be friends with everybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all just friends.
True.
That's it. All right, so now you got your answer. So tell him to take her on a date.
And ask her to marry him.
Well, just start with the date. See, he didn't say all that. He just said just the date. We'll see how it goes. from
It
there.
gets worse.
Oh, no. All right, we'll save that for another one. All right, so difference between a condition and objection. A condition can also be 2 years. They need to live in the place for 2 years. They just bought it a year ago. So they need the 2-year mark, otherwise they're gonna pay capital gains. That's a common condition that comes up. It's not really an objection. Sometimes you can overcome it. Know that there are exceptions. This is for training, especially for military. There's exceptions out there if it's job related and they have to move more than, I believe, 50 miles. There's an exception to the typical rule of the $500,000 exemption or the 250 exemption. So you don't want to give that advice, know about it, look it up when you get a chance. And then if you have somebody in that situation, have them talk to their CPA and see if it fits. Because I was surprised to find out that they prorating. I hate giving this stuff because I don't want anybody to do it and give it as advice, right? But if they're not there the full 2 years, say they're a year and a half, then they take the total months. 2 years is 24 months. So if it's like 16 out of 24, they figure out what the percentage is, okay? And based on what that percentage is, if they haven't had that amount of gain, say it's 500,000, they've had like a $200,000 gain. they're still likely not gonna pay capital gains, even though they haven't been there the full 2 years. So this is big that I found about 3-4 years ago, so I wanna make sure you're all aware of it. Just so that this condition doesn't become something that stifles you, and if you help them with this, you should take that list.
You don't have to pay any taxes on your gains.
Not coming from me, I'm not saying it as a CPA, but there is theoretically, yes, there's an exception, especially for military, right? If they have something that they got orders, they got PCS, they bought it, they've only been there a year, right, and they have to sell it now, then more than likely, they're still good. They don't have to pay any
We're
taxes.
talking about past 2 years.
What's that?
Do you know if with the Dreamers program, if they're able to rent it out after a certain amount of time?
I don't believe they can, but are you talking about the new Couch FA program? The new Couch FA program is intent to occupy. You're not supposed to rent it out. That actually came up at the open house that we were doing just
Yeah,
recently.
I've been thinking about it.
You're supposed to buy it to intent to occupy the property, and stay in the property. There's a lot of down payment assistance programs with BCCDC, and they're very clear, you're not supposed to rent a room out. You have to live in the place. Is anybody gonna come knocking on your door and checking 2 years from now? I don't know, but you just don't wanna ever do anything and use funds or do any of that, and then get in a situation where now they can question it and say, okay, well, now you're renting it out. And that's not what you're supposed to do, but you could refi after a certain period of time, and then it changes. Yeah, so that's an option, is refinance, put it in a different loan program, get them the house first, then refi. Okay. Yes,
I believe in something, obviously we don't want to give the advice, but I'm pretty certain that there's other situations that you can get out of the capital gains as well, as far as like divorce and life-changing situations.
there are. So that exemption is more than just job relocation. So it's not always, everybody thinks it's 2 years or you're gonna pay capital gains. It's not that definite. So just know there's solutions out there for it. Okay, so I'm gonna read off just a few of these things because these are just good notes with objection handling, okay? Remember, there's a correlation between the number of objections you receive and the strength and quality of your presentation, meaning the best objection handler, meaning to get the least resistance in terms of objection, is an amazing presentation. What is an amazing presentation? What does it contain?
I signed
Questions.
Signed contract. I agree. What was that? Questions.
Questions.
So question-based presentation, asks a lot of intelligent questions, doing a lot of discovery, and then meeting their needs. Once you identify what their problems or issues or their challenges are, you figure out what the answers are to it. Okay, and you help them self-discover is even better instead of having to tell it to them. You ask them questions that they start identifying, okay, this is what I need to do. I need you to help me accomplish those goals. So the best objection handler is having an amazing presentation. We're going to focus on the presentation, and we're going to break it down in ways how you improve it, how you record yourself, how you listen to yourself, how do your conversations go when you're speaking with clients, how do your conversation go when you're sitting down with a seller, how do we master that skill? Okay, we'll get into that. So thinking it over is not an objection. It's a smokescreen for what is really concerning the seller. Question them, find out what the real objection is. So if they say we're just thinking it over, it's an objection, it's a smokescreen. You have to isolate the objection and dig deeper. That's the master close. So when I say something like, this is getting more into the presentation, I'll say, when I know we're at a spot that everything feels really good, I'll say, okay, scale 1 to 10, 10 being 100% confident, 1 being 10, where are you at? And they say a 9. There's some hesitation, right? They're at a 9. So now I'm isolating the objection. Okay, well, 9's great. You're 90% confident. Well, I want you to be 100% confident that we're the best fit for each other. So what is that hesitation? I'm identifying what the objection is. Well, we haven't talked about commission yet or price. So it's commission and price, right? So if they say that, then I'm going to say, this is how you isolate the objection, meaning you put those in one box. So you see if there's any other excuse, then you say something other than commission and objection. If we figure out a price that works for both of us and a commission that works for both of us, other than that, is there anything else that would prevent you from working with me? And they'll say, no, that was a great presentation. Or, well, I have a friend that's in the business. Or I need to interview 2 other people. Even if they say they need to interview 2 other people, there's a reason why, because you didn't do your job that they still need to interview two other people. Many, the ones that are real firm with that objection, they're gonna say, it's what we always do. We always have to interview three people. It's nothing against you. They'll tell you it up front. They'll typically tell you right before you're asking to try to close for the business, and it's okay to hear that answer. But also know that if it's strong enough, even though they're saying that, you've already got it, and they know it, and they're still saying it. And so you got to trust how strong your presentation was. Leave them the contract, leave them the information, give them the ability to do whatever they need to do, and know that they're still going to call you up. And for me, I'm going to set up a second follow-up appointment after they need to interview their other two agents. The last time I did that, and this guy, he gave me the names of the other two people. He didn't interview the other two people. The presentation was strong enough, but I set up my first one from a Tuesday when I first met him to Thursday. I gave no time in between. So I said, okay, Thursday at 2 o'clock, let's get together again. After you have a chance to interview your other agents, let's get together, because I'm not going to ask you to sign this here because I'm respecting that's really his objection, right? I'm respecting your wish. So I'm going to give you this here. But all I ask is, with me giving you that trust, that you give me the same good faith and give me the opportunity to speak with you before you make your final decision. And I can tell you whether the other people are giving you good sound advice. And if they are, by all means, go that direction. That's typically not the case, right? But I'm speaking from that place of confidence of, I don't care what anybody tells them, but I'll tell you what's real and what's not real. And regardless, at the end of this, you're going to be happy that we have that final say. So they have to see the value in you, and you respecting them and giving them that space, that they at the end are going to speak with you before they make their final decision. It's all you're ultimately trying to do. So these are just different little tips and tricks. Okay. Since objections never change, don't be afraid of them. Learn how to answer the objection. The list that we have here in this script book is really all you need to know for your objection handlers. There's a little bit more than that, but there's 9 of them listed here. Okay, so this is more of an intro to objection handling than us trying to master all those here. Keep working on strengthening your presentation as a method of bringing the seller or buyer to your side. Don't try to handle objections over the phone. Let them know that you can discuss that first thing when you get to the appointment. Okay. When somebody asks you what's your commission on the phone, how do you respond to that? You have to think of that. Okay, because I've made the mistake of telling them, especially on a referral from a past client, well, I typically charge 6%, but since you're a referral from a past client, I'll do it for 5%. And I say I made that mistake because you shouldn't answer that question on the phone. Now my starting point was a 5. And I didn't realize through my pre-qual, my discovery on the phone, that he wanted to go lower than that, right? I didn't find that out till I got to the 1 to 10 question at the end. And he was like, man, you knocked it out of the park. That was awesome. You're obviously great at what you do, but I got a feeling if I talk to 2 more people, you're charging 5, somebody else will probably do it for like 4.5. So he thinks he's negotiating with me right now. I said, he thinks, right? And I just kind of smiled at him. I said, yeah, 100%. You'll get somebody to do it for 4.5. I said, I can give you a number of somebody who'll do it for 3.5%. If that's what you're looking for. I said, let me ask you the question. Is this the most important investment that you currently own today? He said, yeah. I said, do you want the best person representing you that's going to negotiate the best terms? Because the last 10 homes I've sold, my sellers have paid 0 in terms of repairs. The last 10, right? So that's one piece of it. I said, then you got an appraisal situation in terms of what we're going to have to overcome. So if you want somebody like me to represent you and guide you, not just get you the highest offer, but protect you all the way through the process, right? Then I'm here to work with you. You got to take care of some paperwork here. I left in the paperwork. I said, I got my kids all start thing tomorrow. Give me a call. Let me know and we can get started. And I said, but you guys interview your other agents. I left it. And I was like, I got to go now. To be honest, that kind of pissed me off with how he approached it. And I handled it with still tact and grace, gave it to him with confidence, left. As I'm driving from the All-Star game, get the text, hey, we chose you and your company. We want you to list the home. It works. You have to believe in yourself. You got to believe in the conviction in terms of what you brought. I should have charged 6%. But the whole point of what I'm saying is I made the mistake of on the phone telling him I'd do it for 5%. Then he tries to work me down from 5% after I just slayed the presentation and did everything that should have happened where it's an easy signing. but I screwed up by doing that. So if I have to go back and do it again, you say something to the effect on the commission question of, my promise to you is commissions won't come in between us working together. Yes, commissions are negotiable, and I will be flexible with you, right? They don't know what that means. They don't know what your starting point is. They don't know how much you're willing to flex. You see what I'm saying? But all they want to hear is that you're going to work with them. That's all they want to hear. And I'm telling you, from speaking to a police officer who was like your typical prototype police officer, and not saying it in any negative way, just like he had the glasses on, didn't say much, just kind of had this very not going to say anything type approach, right? He asked that question. He's like, we're going to sell 2 homes and buy $1 million home. You know, you're going to work with us on commission, right? So yeah, I'll work with you. Okay, that was it. And then we went off and I showed property. We're good to go. We never talked about what that meant, what I was going to do. All he wanted to hear is I was going to work with him. That was it. And then we moved. So we don't need to make it a bigger deal. We don't need to, that's what they're saying. Don't try to handle that objection on the phone. That phone calls for discovery. Now I know commission is going to be something I need to be very strong on in terms of when we have that conversation. I have to do a really good job creating my value so they see. I got to do what I say is the commission story and teach people to understand that the power of the commission and why you don't want to shortchange another agent, because it's ultimately going to hurt you and your bottom line. So again, we continue to practice that, but that's the big one. The commission objection is the big one. Okay. Any questions with it? I know we can get real deep in that, and I'm just trying to give just a basic overview. Hit as many of these points. We good? Okay, we'll keep moving. All right. So you should have 2 or 3 answers to the objections you receive most often. So start paying attention, put them in your phone. What are the most common objections that are coming up? And I know I've heard them a million times right now. Interest rates are too high. Are you hearing it still as much right now as you were a month ago, 2 months ago? Or are people starting to get over that?
Low inventory. If I list with you, where am I gonna go?
Yeah, it's low inventory. Low inventory, and there's a real good response on that one. Where am I gonna go? So part of it is the fact that we don't just sit and wait for business, right? We door knock. We get out there. Once I know what it is that you're trying to accomplish, we will hit every single house in the area that you're looking for. And we're going to proactively go out there and get it, right? But more listings are coming up. So low inventory, high interest rates, whatever you're getting hit with. And that, the one that she brought up right now, that Amelia just brought up, was the most common objection handler when the market went crazy about a year and a half ago. That was it. Rates were super low at that time. Payments were great, right? But the problem was there was no inventory. Anything that came out got swallowed up so quick. So people didn't want to list because they couldn't find the next. So you really have to, you got to be very good at giving people hope. You got to be very good at explaining to them how you can protect them in the process on the listing side, that if they don't find it, we can still kill the deal, the home of choice contingency. You got to explain to them that a rent back situation is the best route to go. Because after we close your transaction, now you're cash, now you're not contingent, now you're non-contingent. So we have to ask good questions like, is there another place that you could stay at potentially? Because if there is, let's get your home sold, right? We'll figure out storage, we'll figure out whatever it is, but we need to capture the buyers now and dictate all the best terms for you possible on the listing side now. If we do that right, and you trust me, and we go through this process, I promise you, you're not going to be homeless. And they got to believe it. You got to truly make sure they're protected, right? But if you follow my lead right now, you do it the way we say, you will be ready when that perfect home comes up. It's going to take some faith. It's going to take you trusting me. But if you do this, because all your other competitors are scared to do it. And because they're scared to do it, they're all down here in terms of when they write their offers. You could be up here and get that house that you want. Which one do you want to be, right? So we have to be better at making those points, at creating that trust and making sure we do it, because we know we take care of this now. They're going to be set up for success this year, in the next 2 to 3 months. And in 60 to 90 days, we'll find them that house. Okay, we got to believe it. And if not, we extend out the home of choice contingency. It's worst case scenario in terms of what we do. But I'm typically going to get aggressive and try to get it where it's a standard sale and do a rent back. For me personally, and then if I need to, even if it needs to go more than 60 days, which the lenders don't like, I'm gonna do the first 59 days in writing. And then I'm gonna put something on there that says that if we need to go longer than that, we're gonna do that outside of escrow.
Mhm.
And have that agreement ahead of time, so there's just different options there too. Okay, I know it's already at 10:20, so these are just some ideas with it. Let's just practice. I'll read off what the objection handlers are, just the objections first, okay? I have a friend in the business, that's the first one.
Page.
So this is on page 34. The second one says, we want to think about it, I need to talk to my spouse. The third is, I only want to give you a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day listing agreement. Number 4 is, we're thinking of, we'll just say, Redfin company, and or we've never heard of your company. We don't get that one, okay? We'll save the commission by selling it ourselves. That's common. Well, I'm going to sell on my own. I've sold my other houses on my own. Another FISBO objection. That's a common one. Let's list my home high so there's room to come down. Make sure I'm on the right one here. It looks like it jumped in terms of numbers. Yeah, the numbering's off on there on the top. We want to sleep on it. That sounds like, wait a minute, did I go to the right one? We want to sleep on it. Those are your common ones right there in terms of objections. Any one of those that you guys want to practice really quick, we'll just try it a couple times. Anyone that sticks out that would be helpful to you? Have you had any of those objections? Okay, which one would you say is more common?
Let's list
Yeah.
the home high, so there's room to come down.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right, that one? I would, of course.
I don't like that one.
No, but
Actually, the first thing my brother said is I didn't work with an agent because I asked him to put the house higher.
right,
Now, I tried to explain to him, like, you kind of want to go where the market's at so you can go higher.
Right.
Instead of go lower. But
so you already, that's part of the response there. Okay, so what I'll do in a situation like that though, is I'm typically gonna find the data and the stories that are gonna show this is what you don't want to do, this is what you want to do. And I'm gonna highlight the commission. If they went 2%, they went Redfin, they went with one of these brokerages, I'm gonna look for those, highlight them and show them 200 days on the market. I'm gonna show them a major price reduction. I'm gonna show that they didn't get top dollar, right? I'm gonna show crappy photos. These are different things that I'm gonna do in the presentation to show them this is what you don't want to do. This is what you want to do. But the key is the commission story is what I call it, okay? Really quickly, one of the things you'll say and do. So if they want to start high, well, I'll just read off what it has on here and then I'll get into what I do. So is it fair to say, what you're really telling me is you want to net more money for your bottom line? And you can be my seller, okay? You ready? I know you have so much coming to you.
Me? You're talking to me?
No, I'm talking to you. Is it fair to say, what you're telling me is you want to net more money from your bottom line?
Of course.
Fantastic. Well, here's the great thing about the market. The market will never allow me to sell it for more than it's worth. And it will never allow me to sell it for less than it's worth. Can I share with you why?
Please do.
The price is too low, we'll have a multiple offer situation. The price is too high, we'll have no offers. So let's price the home where it'll sell. I'll commit my time, energy, and effort on your behalf for the next 2 to 3 weeks to making sure you don't lose any money on the sale of your home. But after 3 weeks, I need to know confidently that after I've done that, you're going to reduce the price, or reduce the home to a price that will cause it to sell. Fair enough?
Sounds good.
Great, let's take care of some paperwork. So in a strong seller market.
Fight back.
Well, that's-
So.
So-
Fight back.
Oh, that's how you handle the objection, right? You're not trying to. So think of it as an objection. This is one of the Mike Ferry guys that I liked in terms of how he explained it. If somebody jabs you when you're not paying attention, you're in a fight, they give you a jab. Hopefully none of you had the experience this, right? But you're not expecting it. You get hit back. And now you're kind of distraught, like you don't know what to do next. That's what an objection is. An objection's a jab to kind of throw you off course. Most people crumble. What you want to do is be able to avoid the jab and just keep moving forward. You see what I'm saying? So it's in terms of how you respond in terms of your calmness, your tone, you're not defensive, You're not arguing with them. You're speaking logic and sense and helping them better understand because they don't understand it. Yes, sir.
What if they start rebuttaling and trying to argue with you saying, well, I'd rather keep it on the market at that price because I know it will sell eventually.
My house is better.
Yeah.
They all think their house is better.
You don't think their house is better?
No, I said everybody always thinks their house is
they always
better
do.
than everyone
They always
else's.
do. They have to get, see, this is the whole self-discovery part. They ultimately have to get to the understanding that you're the expert and that there's a reason why they're interviewing you for the job, okay? So one of the things that I'll say, there's two lines that I use all the time. One, I'm not gonna tell you what you wanna hear to take the listing. My competitors will say, yep, you can get that house. I'm not gonna tell you that. Is that what you wanna hear? Or do you wanna hear what it's gonna take to get your home sold? And they're always gonna respond with, tell me the truth. No BS, just tell me the truth. Last thing I wanna do is sit on the market. I said, so you could do that. We can tell you that you can get this price, but I'm the professional. I'm the professional here. And I know that the home's not gonna sell at this. And to be honest, nobody knows until the home hits the market. But what I do know, and that's where I'm gonna get to intelligent pricing and the pricing strategy. Once our home's on the market for 3 weeks, I can tell you based on, and I'm gonna show them Flex Market Summary Report, based on the average days on market. If we're priced well, we're gonna know in the first week, the first 2 weeks, and then I'm gonna give them what's called a soundbite. That's a testimonial. This house just listed on Wednesday, okay? Lists on Wednesday, and we put it, and I'm always referring to the sweet spot. My belief was the sweet spot was at 740. There were 40 showings set in 3 days. And the first day, there were 25 showing calls set on that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Do you believe that I found the sweet spot? 100%, because the phones are ringing. Now, if my phone doesn't ring and I have no showing set before my open houses that weekend, and it's been a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in this kind of market with no inventory, what does that mean? Are there buyers out there? Right. My job is to expose this in the best way possible. There's only 2 ways of doing that. This is part of the presentation. We're getting into it. But the only way that's values, desirability, how bad buyers want your house. The 2 ways of doing it is to have it at a better price, or if it's at the same price, it has more upgrades, more benefits, more features than the other property it's competing against. Okay. So with no inventory, no competition, it's all, even if you have it overpriced, you should still get some showing appointments. But if you don't in this market, you're way overpriced. And that's where we get into the pricing strategy. You're probably 7 to 10% off. Okay. Because even if you're like 5% off, you're still going to get showings. They're just not going to write. They're going to say, oh, this is overpriced. This has a little bit too much. Now, if they come in, and that's what I share, this is where we educate our sellers. The only way I can undersell a home is if I sell it before it hits the market. If the home's on the market for at least 72 hours, 3 full days, that's why you can't take that first offer on the first day. Now, 6 months ago or 3 months ago, you better look really hard at that first offer that just came in, because that may be your only offer. Right now, if I have 25 showing appointments that are set, and I got an offer in the first day, 25 showing appointments. That's insane, right? That's a lot for somebody who's living in the house, who's got to get out of the house and just basically leave for 3 days because it was 40. It's insane the amount of action. That's how I know we priced it right. We put the right photos, we got the right exposure at that price point, and it works. And you get that. So then you ask them, what do you want? Do you want that situation? Or do you want this situation? Because buyers are savvy right now. And agents are savvy, and they know enough to know that this home's overpriced. They know they have no competition. So what do you think they're going to do? What would you do as a buyer if you saw a home that you know is overpriced by $100,000 and nobody else is writing on it? It's been on the market for 2 months, 3 months, right? 90 days on the market. What are you going to do? Are you going to write asking price? I don't know. You're writing way under asking price. You have no competition. So what we have to be good at is, how do we increase the competition? How do we increase the competition? You have no competition right now. How do we shift the leverage from no competition because you're overpriced or you're a for sale by owner versus you work with me? Yeah, you're going to pay 6% commission, but I'm going to make you 5 to 6% more than any of my competitors because you're going to follow my lead We're gonna price it the way that it should be priced. The only way I can guarantee that I will net you the most for the sale of your home. So if you follow my guidance. And I hope you all heard what I just said right there. That's how you take control of the situation. The only way I can guarantee that you will net the most from the sale of your home is if you follow my lead. Not your lead, my lead. You follow my lead, I promise you, you're gonna walk away with the most amount of money. Do you hear the difference in that conversation? That's the key. There's no chance there. We go your way, we're taking a chance. We go my way. Here's the stats. Here's the track record. This is what has sold. The average days on market of my listings is like 11 days. Look at the regular market, 60 days. What do you want? You want to wait 60 days to hope that you get one buyer? Or do you want to follow my strategy right now? Make sure that you're going to net the most for the sale and have the most strongest buyers, cash buyers, 20% down, everything, the full array. Or do you want one or two to choose from? Hopefully, and you're praying and hoping. Which one do you want? When they get that, they'll follow your lead. That's the strongest objection handler for pricing. I have no issue with pricing. If I'm going to take the listing, I either lose a listing, which doesn't happen very often, or I'm taking it at the right price. Okay. It's a certain presence and tone in terms of your presentation. If you all get the opportunity, get your foot in the door, you're taking that listing. You got to know it, you got to believe it before you get in there. But we need to be ready and we need to have this down and we can't waver on this. This is one of those things. Now, if you're dealing with the higher end market, it's one of the things nuggets I pulled from the San Diego guy. It's the complete opposite. And he talked about rich people buying weird stuff, right? Unique stuff and paying insane amounts of money. It's a little bit different. Similar pricing strategy. What I'm saying is don't fight them on the price to the same level that you're gonna for every other property. Take the listing. Okay? Then you're just gonna have to work on the pricing strategy, which is adjusting the price down the road if it doesn't sell. But you don't want to lose a listing because the comps say 1.8 and they think they can get 2 million. And you're like, no. Brandon taught a class the other day. Said you need to follow my lead, right? And you lose that listing over 200,000 when you should have took it because we've just seen it recently. Listed at 1.85, go for 2,025,000. Okay, that's ultimately what happened. So those things are possible. Yep. Just need to stretch.
No, I haven't done that.
Okay. All right. Let's do a check. No, that's good. No, we'll wrap that up. It's already 10:30. Unless you all want to practice that. You want to practice that one time? Jen, you're gonna come out front. Thank you. You're gonna come out front, right? Come on, Jen. Yes.
That,
Let's do it.
I will, whatever you.
We're gonna practice.
Say bye.
I don't know. Which objection do you want to practice? What practice? What's that? You want to just go and you could read it word for word.
No, I was just looking at which objection I want, like, was the best.
Well, that was the one that you wanted to practice right there.
Well, that one was one, but
What's the other one?
I know somebody,
Okay, you know somebody in the business. Okay, so you're gonna.
because it's hard for me to tell somebody that I'm better than somebody that they know and they trust.
No, it's not
That
saying
would be
that you're
hard.
better.
Well, no, but that I could do a better job.
Right. So I know somebody in the business. Do you want to do it? I'm gonna go off the script first and then I'll do it the way that I do it. But do you want to be the agent? Practice it.
You know what, I'm probably,
Do you want me to do it? Okay, you have a friend in the business. Okay. All right, I'm just gonna read it off of here. So,
Okay.
all right. So go ahead. You just say you have a friend in the business.
I already have a friend in the business, so I'm just I'm looking at other options, but I already know them and trust them.
Okay, that's great. So I can appreciate your loyalty. Let me ask you this. What is your ultimate goal? To help your friend or protect your family?
Well, I'd like to protect my family, number one, but if I can help my friend as well, that would be ideal.
That's great. Now, it says protect my family or both. That's a good job. So, okay, is it fair to say that the reality is, it is your responsibility and your stewardship to your family to net the most money possible?
Yes.
Can I share with you what concerns me about you working with a friend?
What is that?
It's the possibility of you not netting the most money possible.
Okay, and I want to net the most money possible for sure.
Do you believe you can net more money working with me?
Yeah, I don't know.
So this is after the
This,
presentation.
I don't do this
Right,
normally, so
right.
I get very
No,
like,
but
I
You're
don't
good.
know, like.
Hey, the pressure's on me. The pressure's on me, but
Just
I'm
like-
well, good, because this is what I
I
want to
can do it
practice.
naturally when I'm in front of people. When I get in front like this, it's, I don't know how to do it.
I think the natural answer though would be no, because I just got to know you. Like,
Well,
Right.
that's, and that's kind of
why
what I
this-
was thinking,
no,
but I don't
this
even know how
is-
to get it out when I have
this would
eyes
be-
staring at me.
This would be at the presentation level. okay?
Come on.
So this question, right, this question here though would be at the presentation, like you've already done your presentation, you already killed it on the presentation. They don't
Okay,
even exist, okay?
this is uncomfortable.
would say-
This is more my goal than this. is.
Well,
This
good.
is more my
That's-
goal.
Look, we're all in underwear right now. A little more than that.
No, seriously, this is more of my reason for standing here.
So all you do, that just filled the complete ending to this right here. No, that's okay. So the last question is, do you believe you can net more money working with me? So after a strong presentation, your confidence level is very high, right?
Okay,
You're just trying to do it. Then I'd say, great, let's take care of some paperwork.
okay.
Sometimes the hesitation, especially if they've interviewed another agent that they really liked, and they may have already verbally told them they were gonna work with them, right? But they didn't sign the contract. Their biggest hesitation is telling that other person that they're not moving forward with them. So there's a couple ways. A funny way of approaching it is you say, oh, well, I'd love to give them a call. I'll do that for you. I'll call that other agent for you and let them know that they can bring a buyer to this home and still get paid and still represent them, but I'm representing. So, okay. That's kind of a cocky, mean way of doing it, but it's that is their concern, right? Then the second part is you just coach them through it and you give them some tips and advice and just say, hey, look, you know what? These are the reasons. I always say, keep all the commission terms confidential, because I never want them believing that, you know, I undercut them or anything of that sort. Typically, that's not the case. So just with that being said, I coach them on that, but that's their concern, is they really like you, but they've already verbally told somebody else, and now they have to go back on that because they know this isn't the best interest for them. So do you get just in terms of how the questions came? So first is
Well, now I'm
getting them.
getting it more now that I'm calmed down a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm back present in my life.
As she's slowly stepping back towards her seat.
So one time, come on, let's try it one time, just one time. So now all you're doing is you're reading it off of that, okay?
But I'm gonna be,
So you're gonna be the agent.
okay, I'm gonna be agent.
Yep. And you're just reading it off there and just saying it with confidence there. We already had a strong presentation. At the very end, I'm not gonna sign because my brother would kill me. He just got his license and he would expect that I would list the home with him. Okay, that's the same thing as a brother.
The brother?
Let's just go through this. So my excuse is that it was a great presentation. You're obviously really good at what you do, but I don't want to lose my brother because I listed a home with you, right?
Okay, I can appreciate your loyalty. Let me ask you this. What is your ultimate goal to help your friend or protect your family?
Well, it is to protect my family. He is my brother too, but none of my immediate family, I gotta protect them.
Okay, so is it fair to say that the reality is your responsibility and stewardship to your family to net the most money possible?
Well, we're super close, but yeah, no, ultimately I do need to net the most for the sale of this home. And I can tell you're really good.
Can I share with you what concerns me about working with your brother?
Yes.
It's the possibility of you not netting the most money possible.
Okay.
Do you believe you can net more money working with me?
I do.
Great, let's take care of some paperwork.
Awesome.
Sign away.
Good job.
Legitimately, if you heard her with that kind of confidence, and her saying, even though she was reading it, would you move forward with that? And an honest, sincere, you would.
You know
Remember
what,
that.
it kind of, for me, hearing what you said, it was like kind of intimidating, like, could I say that to somebody? But at the end of the day, it spoke more to me that like, if we have the balls to say that, that not only are we saying what we're saying, but we're also saying how bold we are in our potential negotiations later down the line. Like, if we're upfront doing that, they're gonna be like, wow, if she was able to say that then, like, what else is she gonna be able to do? So, yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know if I could say that, but.
But you do want to get to the point that you speak with that type of conviction and that kind of belief that you know you're the best person for the job. Nobody's better than you are, and that you're gonna get the job done.
But what would you say at that moment if they said, but I don't know how to tell my brother?
Then you help them.
You would call the brother. That would be really awkward.
Hey, so, Brother Mark, well, I know you're expecting to get this, you're not. But you can bring a buyer. Yep. So, no, great job. It is something you want to practice. If the other answer you can give to that or another question, that's a real good objection handler question to that. What if you don't get what you're looking for? Or what if your home doesn't sell when you list with your brother? How is that going to impact your relationship? That's a huge question that they haven't thought about. And the best thing in changing, just remember, objections are also similar. It's like when somebody's stuck with a certain line of thinking, like interest rates are too high, prices are too high, right? I have to list my price at 2 million. I have to do this, right? Those are all, they have a frame of thinking for some reason. You have to change their perspective through asking good questions, intelligent questions. And when you do, and you're quick and you can figure that out, you'll help change the perspective, but it's by a question like that. So if things don't work out, or your home doesn't sell, or you have to potentially fire your brother, how could that impact your relationship? And then like, I didn't think of it that way. I thought every home would sell right now. Well, that's what most people think. And yeah, anybody could list a home, anybody can get multiple offers, but how do you know you're getting the right one? Because you only get to pick one. So how do you know you do it right the first time? How do you vet them? How do you know that once they're in escrow, that they're not going to try to over negotiate it at that point, right? So I know, just based on my experience and what I've done, that I am the best representation for you. So just, it's little things like that.
Well, they
but
wouldn't
that's
have
a
you
good one to
there
help.
if they were already committed to their brother. They wouldn't have you there for that. Interview, so.
And that's another,
true.
That's something that you have to, I'm just
that-
thinking of that now, thinking.
but that's also a question you want to ask them too, is, obviously you had me out here for a reason. Obviously, we're here for a reason, let's just call it what it is. What is it that you hope to accomplish from this meeting? And you can say that starting out as well. And they could say, oh, well, I'm gonna work with my brother, I know you're good at what you do. I really just, hope to hear what you have to say in terms of how to sell the home, right? And they may just be trying to fish and get information. So you can call that out, but you hit it right on the head. There's a reason why they have you there. If they're so loyal to their brother or friend or whoever it is. So just knowing how to handle it, I'm telling you, it gets to be fun when you are confident with this and you practice and you know the questions asked and you see it, then it works. And then afterwards, I remember the first time, Magme, you called me at Oxnard after one of these presentations or something we did, and you're like, I used it and it worked. Listening, I was like, hell yeah. Well, that's right. That's right. Do you remember that? Do you remember what this
I'm trying to think who it was.
Do you remember what it was that you used? I said it earlier today. I did it again. I'm not gonna tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what you
Yeah.
need to hear. And how has that changed your presentation, just in terms of how you approach your presentation? Because I know if you're going on a listing presentation, you're taking it. I know, right? What has changed, like with that or using that? Maybe you always did it, but that's just,
Well, I used to
nice way sum it
just
up,
used to say it differently. I used to say like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat.
right?
And then, but I really like
You
you
used
said
that
that
on me
one time.
before too.
Yeah. But I really like the way you worded it. So
Right.
then the next time that I went, that's what I used. And it
Right.
was just like, even for myself, it felt better, like it almost gave me a boost of confidence to say it that way. So it was just,
No, that's cool. I remember you calling after, you're like, I'm so excited. I got it, I took it and I used it and I said it. I was like, thank you. It's a boost to me to hear it because I know it works. And that's all, just trying to get these ideas. Once you really just understand the concepts of what we're trying to teach here, it all starts clicking. And it all starts coming together really nicely. So we'll wrap this up unless there's anything else that you guys wanted to do. We didn't get into the mastermind group. If anybody wants to stay for another, we'll do 15 minutes. It's 10:45. We can just talk about some quick ideas. You gotta go, you go. There's no offense taken. Yeah, you guys want to do it? You want to try to do real quick 15? Some of the ideas, prospecting, those things. Okay. It's the first time we're doing it, so let's jump into it. He wants to do it. He's the brains of this operation here. You know that, right, bud? You got all the ideas. So how can we get more business? What should we do?
Maybe raise a little bit more of the price when you like ask them, maybe say like you can sell it for like $15 and you could like next time you could sell it for like $16
That'd be
and then
good.
keep going one up, and then if they say no, you go one down and then you go two down and say, well, hey, do you want me to minus $2 and then you can buy.
That's really good.
There's a negotiation. Yes, there is.
How old are you again? 7 years old. Okay. Well, we need to see if we can get you licensed here. Could be one of our top sales guys in this.
Funny thing, right?
Awesome, thank you. That was a great answer. So just some of the ideas as we talked about forming this, talk about different, like sharing things that are working right now. Let's talk about what's working right now. Anybody has anything that they know there's something specific? I know you shared in the past with me, if it's okay, about city. Can I mention that about the city? So Jen had mentioned that city offers a program with no mortgage insurance, right? Is it 15%
It's
now?
15% down. This is on a jumbo. So I think now the new, what's the new number, 748, I think, or something, the loan amount has to be over.
Uh-huh,
I think
it's,
that's what
yeah,
it
it's right
is.
around 730. It's like
728, something
yeah, I
like
think
that.
so.
15% down, no PMI.
So is this jumbo or conforming? Is it under the 720?
No, it has to be over.
Over, so it's a jumbo.
The loan amount has to be.
Yeah, so that's a jumbo package then. Okay, so jumbo loan. Okay,
Yeah, so 15% down, no PMI. And the interest rate, you know, it obviously varies, but it's been somewhere, my clients have gotten anywhere between 5.25 and 5.625 in the last, last 6 months now. When rates were even, you know, almost hitting 7.
right.
But they also have, another program for somebody who makes under $138,000 per year.
Okay,
And they can get up to $7,500 in credits for towards our closing costs.
How much is?
Up to 7,500. And that one, I'm 99% certain is 10% down.
okay,
And then there's one more
uh-huh,
that's really good. Oh, and the interest rate on that one was really low as well. I don't remember I haven't actually done one of those yet, but I referred a few people to talk to them about it.
Okay.
But that was like, I want to say it was around the 5%, but don't quote me on that. It was low though. They might have even been in the high 4s at one point, like a few months ago.
Who is your city-based contact?
My contact is Sean City. I've worked with him now on quite a few deals. It's yeah, it's
spelled differently though, right?
yeah, it's SIDDIQ. His real name is Shabazz Sean City, and it's SEAN. But yeah, I can give anybody his number to you if you need it.
Could you forward that? to
Yeah,
me? Thank you.
totally. So the third one, that's also a really good one, is if you have clients looking in certain areas, possibly like I'd say Santa Paula, Oxnard, areas that are not the median to higher income range areas. They can double check by the neighborhood. It goes off of neighborhood, so it's even some of Ventura, I think.
Right.
If it's a low to median income neighborhood, they can get, oh my gosh, what was it? It was a 3.5% down. The interest rate was like in the 4 something. They don't have to cap it the 138,000. It was like, there was, yeah, I mean, get all this information from Sean for sure. I'll give you his number, but it was like it was even better. And they give the $7,500 credit as well.
They go up higher, so they either go by the area or based on the household and the person. So this will go like moderate income. So that actually they can make more money than your cap at like under 138. That's gonna be low income, that's 80% AMI. It's actually, that's still a higher, that's getting close to the moderate income, but it's a higher limit when it's these specific areas that qualify for these programs.
Yeah, the number 2, you don't have to qualify. It's not any specific neighborhoods.
Right,
That's pretty
it's
much-
anywhere, it's throughout Ventura County. This one's in specific neighborhoods. Yeah, no, I know it just through BCCDC. City used to be one of our main funders too, in terms of who they would access for funds. So city's big, Wells Fargo is another one that you may want to look into. Actually, Ken was just sharing with me not too long ago. Wells Fargo has a jumbo package in the low 5s as well. So another one, normally we're, you know, this is just from past home buyer classes and things. We wouldn't necessarily push the bigger banks. They had a lot more overlays. They were harder to push deals through in situations. You were better off with a broker more times than not. I still feel that's a general rule of thumb, but you also have to know what products and programs are out there. Yes.
I do have to say, I've worked with the larger banks a couple of times on jumbo loans and it's been smooth.
Okay.
Like it's-
I
it's
think we
not-
closed
Good to hear.
in December with Sean.
Uh-huh,
We closed one with the 15% down program in Studio City in, was it 15 days? I think, and
awesome.
full loan,
That's
appraisal, everything.
So that's
Yeah, we
what
closed
you
super
want.
fast in December. But I've had 0 problems with, like, he'll have
Sure.
everything completed in like 10 days.
Well, that's great. And when you know somebody specifically, not just a random person
Yeah.
that you're walking into a big bank that was just hired and doesn't really have the experience. So that's important that you know somebody like this, that's with City. So good,
Yeah.
you know, good with that. If you're newer to the business or you don't know or you aren't aware, BCCDC definitely learn their programs, what they have, and they're good all the time. They have certain money that will be allocated. It's a nonprofit based on Oxnard. And every month. Talk about the College FA and the real. And more people can take advantage. There's so much free money out there, free grants, that's the money's forgiven. They don't ever have to pay that back. And there's no equity share. You can buy any home in Ventura County, not a loan. They can buy any home. You utilize products. With that being said, there's a high demand on BCCDC and they're a nonprofit, so they only have so many people working there. So you're only going to be able to access them during the week. There's long waiting lists, turnaround time. They're not as responsive as I'd imagine that Sean is with City or what we're used to at the level we move. So you have to future pace your clients and let them know it's going to be a longer process. It's going to take longer. There's a lot of frustrated stories. As many of the success stories, you have that too. So I just always have to preface it with that so that you're better prepared and you can help share that with them through BCCDC. So don't tell the loan officers and everybody I'm telling you all this. It's just, I was their director of realty for 2 years. So I know exactly what's up over there. And that's actually when I met Jason Harrelson. If any of you have worked with him, he's solid too. So Jason's, I was there as the director of realty. We had in-house lending, but we had to do more deals and put more together. And I was introduced to him on a hard money situation. The guy was just great with first-time buyers. He also did the first-time home buyer programs. He doesn't currently do them now. So don't call him for a College FA. You would call Tamir, you call anybody else who's College FA certified for that. Okay. Any other questions or things you want to share with that? So right now, what we're talking about is just different things that are creative or not even creative, just know what loan programs are out there that people can take advantage of. This is gold. That helped me capture a buyer in Seaming at a home buyer or at a open house. And I mentioned the no mortgage insurance. And he's, let me get your card, just because I shared that. So thank you for sharing it with me.
Of
And
course, that
having the
saved
ability.
a couple of my transactions, which were actually multi-layered this last 6 months. Where my clients felt like they couldn't sell and purchase and get into a better, larger home. Their payment was gonna be, I mean, what they were qualified for was less than what we were gonna sell for. But because they were able to do the 15% down with no PMI, they qualified for more.
Right.
Their payment was lower than what they were looking at with the 6.5%. Also, one client or two clients were approved for 20% down with some of the bigger banks, because one of them was with Wells Fargo, but they required 20% down not to have the PMI. And they were able to go 15% down and were qualified higher.
Right.
Yeah, and so their payment without the PMI with only 15% down was actually lower than it was with the 20% down. It's crazy. So they got to say, hold on to some of that money. So I just said, well, you can go a little higher in the purchase price now, hold on to some of your money to help, like 5%. To help even offset those payments that are gonna be a little higher than you'd want to be right now because of the interest rates, and then refinance it later. So yeah, it actually, that helped me with several dealers.
Well, I know when you were hitting your stride and a lot of other people are saying nothing was happening. I know that you were, creative and utilizing these type of resources. You were finding answers where other people are coming to roadblocks and saying it's done, can't do it. You were like, no, there's a way, and you found the way. And that's huge. And I appreciate you sharing it with the group here. Is there anything else anybody knows about any programs, things they're doing that's working, things that they're doing in prospecting that's working? How are you getting your business? These are the things that I just want to talk about as a group to share, because it's so nice. Just with you sharing that has already given me things like, as you try to think about what to say when you're door knocking, what to say on the phone when you talk to somebody, what to say in any conversation, which is prospecting at an open house. You have to share something that's different than everybody else out there. And you have to be knowledgeable when they ask you about the Township Pay program, that you know really how it works. Have an intelligent conversation. And then the bigger point I also want to emphasize with that is, you didn't just set them up with a loan officer, say get qualified. They said no, and that's it. They trusted you as the expert, right? So when you start with these new buyers or prospective buyers, you meet with them first before you try to get them pre-approved. That makes sense?
Yep.
It's important that you change the way that you're doing it if you're not already doing that, because they have to trust you, because everybody's going to be different. And you may send them to a loan officer, and if it doesn't go well, you may lose that potential buyer. So it's nothing against that loan officer. They only have so many products and programs that are available. But when you're the expert, that's why I say it. And I do this in home buyer classes with a loan officer next to me. They're like, oh, I hate hearing that. But it's the truth. You need to be the leader, not them. No offense to them, but you need to guide them in that direction. Does that make sense?
100%.
Is that what you do?
Yeah, and I was even and I'm one of those people that'll probably share too much personal information, just because I feel like if we're not real with people, then they're not gonna feel like they can be real with us too. But just something also just that I want to share is, my ex-husband and I had bought properties ever since I was in my early 20s. We bought our first house and rolled it over to the next one, and then all of a sudden 2007 hit, and I became disabled at that point, and we had to sell our house, lost all our equity, sold it, walked away with like just about nothing. I mean, barely anything. Moved out here to Camarillo, and we were renting. And I was sitting here going like, oh my gosh, how do we rent after owning for all these years?
Right.
Now we're renters, and we were in crappy situations with the rentals and things like that. And we went to 3 different lenders who told us, no, keep saving, keep saving. Three rejected. And I said, and this was before I was a realtor. And I just sat there going, I am not giving up. I'm not going to keep renting, because I know how it is to own it. It's like every other house we had owned rolled us over into the next one. And so in 2012, finally, the 4th lender I spoke to said, oh my gosh, you're perfect for a Cali FFA loan. I didn't even know what it was at the time.
Right,
And so we did a Cal HFA loan because we had
Awesome.
great credit.
yeah,
We had never missed any payments. We just didn't have our down payment anymore because we lost it on the sale of our other house.
right,
We lost like over 200 grand on it.
Yeah.
And it hurt, but I was like, I gotta get back in the market because I
Right.
know that that's always done well. So we did the Cal HFA loan and didn't take that rejection over and over, which is now what I tell, and I'll tell them straight up my story because I'm like,
it's great.
do not let someone tell you no. If they
Right.
say no, go to somebody else and see if they can do something
It's
different.
huge.
That's why I have so many lenders that I work with, that I love,
Uh-huh,
because I'm like, if one doesn't give them the answer that they want, I'll go, okay, let me think of who else, and I'll send them to somebody else. But that same house that we bought was zero. I mean, I think we put $3,500 in the closing costs,
yeah,
is all we paid. Within 4 years, we had 20% down on our house and lost close to the states
all right,
in equity.
isn't that crazy? See,
So I
that's,
tell people these stories all the time. I'm like, even if you don't keep saving and saving and saving, because appreciation's going up and the amount of money you're trying to save each year is not even gonna keep up with it. Get in and refinance it later, whatever, just do whatever you have to do to get in. And then they go, well, what if it comes down? It's like, okay, if it comes down, we're in California, it's gonna dip and it's gonna go up, it's gonna dip, it's, or it's gonna go like this or straight up, whatever, but ultimately it'll come up. Okay,
Right.
but if you just keep trying to save and save and save, it's hard to keep up with that and with the appreciation.
it is. No, I mean, you hit it on the head, and that's also in changing our perspective, because just heard it the other day, somebody, say, not gonna do a condo, not gonna do a townhouse, not gonna do it, but you're missing out on that appreciation opportunity. And it's not about getting the perfect home forever. You can get to that, but it's not usually in our game plan. Typically, people can't get that first one. It's normally not the first property. It's usually the first one, and it's gonna take some time, and hopefully in the next few years, but it could take 10, 15 years. And then once you have that appreciation, now you can take that money and do what you do. So it's that personal testimony is huge though. And thank you for sharing it with the group. And you see why she's good at what she does and strong in terms of being able to connect with people, create that trust, and for them to follow her lead, because she's done it. She's walked the walk.
And I got a client after that who, they were referred to me because they had no money down. They were in a rental out like on a ranch, and they were getting kicked out because they needed the house for family, whatever, and freaking out because they had no money saved.
Right.
And they came to me because somebody said, oh my gosh, I know what loan they did themselves. And so I referred them and got them into their first house. And of course, it's only been like, they gained so much equity in the last few years, going from, zero money down.
So I know a lot of people know you. What would you say if you're giving advice to other people in terms of the types of prospecting that's working the best for you right now? Like, what is it? You've been in the business now, how many years roughly? 8 years. 8 years in the business, and you're cranking. You got a lot of good things going. What would you say is just a good source in terms of making sure you're spending your time to get to the business that you want? Because you didn't get your license and your phone just started ringing. How did you get things rolling? And what do you say is the most of your business right now in terms of how you're working it that's leading to what you have right now? If you're comfortable with sharing that.
99% is referral.
Good.
It's very few, just random clients that I get. It's all
Right.
referrals, or just people that I meet and I'm talking to them. And I think for me, it's just being really real and being open and not afraid to just tell my situations, like I said, and
Right.
people just tell me that I connect with them. I don't know.
It is. No, the connection is big. The connection is really important.
But also thinking outside the box, like, because I hear people all the time will say, oh yeah, well, we're gonna save, or we're gonna do this. And it's like my brain, a little ADHD goes on in there, and it's like, wait a minute, there's gotta be some way to get by right now, because I did it, I figured it out. I mean, here I was with a fourth baby that was just born, I was disabled, and we had no money down anymore. And I'm sitting there going like, I am not gonna keep renting, and it's like, so my mind just starts going around like, there's gotta be a solution. That's what happens. And that's what I do at night when I can't sleep. Try to figure out how that person could buy a house.
Appreciate that. Anything anybody wants to share with what's working in terms of business right now, types of prospecting that's working? I know, some have shared they've done different things than they've done in the past and are seeing some good results from it. Anything anybody like to share? And we'll wrap it up here soon. I just want to hit a couple ideas if there's anything that somebody can take from that. Yes. No. Bueller? Nobody, huh? Nobody
I
wants
just
to
think
say
definitely
that.
not getting down on not listening to what anybody says and just like, I literally feel like I'm unfazed and people always are saying, yeah, well, the market's, and I'm sitting there going like, no, it's been really, really good. I think it's literally just believing that, like we always say in all these classes, it's all just believing and finding the answers and just kind of, giving the information to people.
Yeah.
And not falling into that, because it's almost like people's faces are shocked when I tell them like, no, it's still really good. And they're like, really?
That's the best response. It's the best response, and that's the conversation you want to have. And it is everywhere. That's the thing, when you think of prospecting, it's everywhere. It's not in here unless you're calling, okay? So it's not typically, when, other than this young man here that is come in, are you buying a home anytime soon?
Well, my mom,
Maybe.
my
huh?
mommy's.
Okay, there you go. See, well, we got a lead here, okay? But it's in our conversations. It's what we're doing out in the community. It's when we're, at the different events and the things that we do, and always having these conversations where it comes up to, especially once they know you're in real estate, the market is a constant conversation. Always comes up. So how do you respond to that? And I remember we were just talking about just the other day, like, oh, it's kind of weird. It's kind of this, it's kind of that. It is white hot right now for everybody, or including buyers. And it stinks because it happened like in a week, it legitimately flipped in a week again. And not everybody's saying that, and they're not putting it out there. Pretty soon you're going to see all the posts. Oh, now's the time. I got this. I got multiple offers. You're going to start seeing that again, which doesn't help because it discourages the buyers. They start getting frustrated. So it's the keys to get to that. But unless there's any other ideas, we'll wrap it up. I just wanted to, yes.
Well,
That's it.
one quick thing is, just want to remind everybody too, I know you sent out the email with your first time home buyer class.
Right.
To me, that's something that's positive for me to share with my home buyers, and I'm getting, good reception from people who are interested. Whether or not they'll be able to make the next one is another story, but
Right.
if they can't make that one, they're asking when the next one is. It's kind of reviving my kind of buyers that are on hold or have been on hold, as well as sharing the new Cal HFA
Right.
program as well, just to share that bill. So those two things are kind of reviving some of my
Good.
old buyers that have been kind of on hold for the last 6 to 12 months.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because it's something big. So just in case you didn't know, the 22nd is the next. Is that still the date?
Yep.
Is it okay to
Yep.
do? Okay.
Yep.
Just making sure, because I want to have something in this office, whether
And
it's
we'll
with
get
you.
shy this time, promise.
Okay, good. It was, the whole point is to
Right.
do it, okay? The point is to do it. So what Leslie's talking about, this has been something, and I'll just share it with all of you, because my dad has given me permission to get this out. This has been something that has kept their pipeline full their entire careers, almost 30 years in the business with home buyer classes. And they did them just about once a quarter on average. And it was always enough to go look for buyers for them, to educate them and teach them. For VC, CDC, firsthand, I saw it every single month. We had 30 people in every class, English, Spanish, every single month. And their pipeline is always full teaching this class. So once I saw that, it's like, okay, we need to create something like that here. That's on a regular basis, and we'll figure it out and do it. So it's not all the pressures on you or myself, where people who feel confident and competent enough to be able to do it. I know Nagne is very strong in terms of training and presentation. So I know Nagne's volunteered to do it. Anybody else who wants to and wants to learn how to do it will work on it too. Because it is something that once you're a part of it and just kind of what to go over, it's big for you as well. And there would be people, I'd go into a car dealership and people recognize me from these home buyer classes. They're like, I know you. And I'm trying to figure it out. It was because I was doing those classes every single month. So the reason why it works though, is it gives you a goal. It gives you something, a marker that you can have conversation about. And I was just sharing with Laura just at the last open house. I had to tell myself, ask them if they're a first time buyer based on the answers they were giving me. I almost just handled it and missed the opportunity. But there's a huge opportunity when you can get them to say, yes, I'm a first time buyer. You got them. if you know what next questions to ask to set that appointment. And I did. I set the appointment. So next Wednesday, I'm gonna speak with them, Lauren and I will speak with them based on that conversation that it could have been not very much interaction at the open house. They were kind of reserved. Come to find out they work for Amgen. They're chemists, both of them, make 200,000 a year. They're solid. It's gonna be the next buyers that we potentially work with. All because I asked that question that I almost missed, and I teach the freaking class, and I almost missed asking it. So I'm saying, use this when you're in open houses, use this when you're door knocking, use this when you're talking to people. Get to the point, if they haven't purchased a home, you got so much you can ask them questions about and get them excited to take action and set an appointment. Okay, so thank you, Leslie, for reminding us, because I want as a group for us to master that, because we have to. There's going to be so much business there. Okay,
Yep.
Anything else? Okay, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, guys. It was good.
Thank you.
Good job, young man. Anytime you want to come.
Thought there'd be other kids. It's great.
All right.
Little kids are.
Oh, yeah. Why not? Why not ask them on it?
Well, if you need 3, just let me know. Then. Have 3 for rent.
I'm so busy. Processing me off, I'm like, just get off my plate, but you be.
Thanks for coming in. Didn't know we were gonna go till 11. Yeah, I mean, let me just check this real quick.